let me tell you what I'm doing here. Obviously, I'm filing off the gel. Duh. But let me tell you about the previous manicure. The previous manicure we did that cute little like swirly black and white and gold, like, I don't know, French style. And that background color that we use is actually my peach base coat, which is a base coat. Yes, you heard that right. It's a base coat. So it's the first thing you put on. But it also has a built-in color. It has that like peachy toned built-in color, which is amazing because literally you can just slap top coat on top and then you saved yourself 2 coats of color. And 3 for 3, it is a builder gel, so it adds strength to the nails. So I use it on a lot of my clients because even if I'm putting a coat of color over it, I use it on my clients because I want to build their nails with a builder gel and make them nice and strong, because you can see like her nails are so long and nothing broke, nothing was lifted because of this peach base coat. So all I'm doing with this now is filing off the top coat and the design, and I'm not going to file off the peach base coat. I'm just going to thin it out and thin out that old apex that I built so I can build another one with another of my base coats. And listen, I know if you're like a DIYer just trying to learn to do your own nails and you're like, what are these terms that she's using? What is apex? What is building with the base? I just wanted to put this quick little video I made of me building with my base coat. And what I'm doing is I'm building the apex. And just think of the apex as like an arch, and like the peak of the arch or the apex is right above the stress area of your nail, which is like right above your fingertip where your nail tends to break the most. And the reason you want to build that up is to obviously prevent breaking. Because honestly, if you have really long nails, the last thing you want is flat nails. The last thing you want are flat nails. Yes. All right, so now we move on to shaping, and let me tell you, one of the biggest mistakes that I used to make when I first started doing nails was especially when I was still like learning the e-file, I would go and file off all the color and leave the base coat on and be like, yes, I'm doing it. Everything's great. And then I would just go to slap more base coat on and slap a color. And when I got to the color, like, it would look so bad and lumpy, and I would be like, what the hell did I do? Like, why am I not doing this right? And after a couple years, I finally realized, like, why am I not continuing to even out that base coat? Because what was happening was I would e-file it off, and the e-file would leave so many ridges and like from the teeth, and it would just be super like bumpy. And I finally added into my nail like routine with my clients was after I e-file and while I'm shaping, I take that same file and I hand file the surface of the nail. And by surface of the nail, I mean the leftover base coat. So you'll see in a second, I'm gonna take that same file and start filing that leftover base coat to smooth it out. And then I take one little final orange buffer to smooth out any pokies that the file might have left, and then I am ready. So really, if you think about it, I'm literally just moving my way down the harshness scale when it comes to grit. Like, I start off with like really intense harshness, which is the e-file, and I obviously don't touch the natural nail with that. And then I move down to the hand file, which is much less harsh than the e-file. And then after I do the hand file, I move my way down to the totally not harsh and totally spongy and cushy sponge buffer. And then everything is nice and smooth, and we did such a nice transition and made our lives so much easier for application. Next up, we have the cuticles. This is the cuticle bit I am using on her today. I will link it all down below, but it is super gentle and super efficient. So all I do is I go around the cuticle area and the sidewalls. Don't forget the sidewalls, all right? Because cuticle grows down there too, of the nail, and it's just exfoliating all of that dead skin off. Because if you don't do that, your gel will totally lift. And if you're not thorough with this process and getting into those sidewalls and those corners, your gel is either going to flood or it's going to like shrink away from the sides and not fully cover the nail, or it's going to lift, or all of the above. I was going to say all three, but then I was also going to say all of the above, so then I stuttered. So let's start over. Or all of the above. All three of the above. And now all I'm doing is cleansing the nail with my little cleanser and adding my favorite bonder, and all of these things will be linked down below, including all of the bits and e-file stuff that I use as well. And then here's the final look of the nails after we shaped and prepped and did the things. They're so clean. And now we are going to build her nails again, but this time with a new base coat that's coming out in October. It is called Taupe Base, and it is taupe. And it has a very subtle shimmer in it. We're going to put a color on top, but totally fine. Like I said before, I really just love to build my clients' nails and build that strength with this base coat, even if we're covering up the color. But I also wanted to show you guys. I will say building with the base coat takes practice, but I'm just going to show you some of my process, so hopefully you can kind of learn a few things. I think my biggest tip is, there's a few biggest tips. One, always look at both the side views. If you don't, you're going to end up with lumpy nails. You got to check the apex, so don't just look at it from the top. It might look good from the top, but when you look at it from the side, it might look super wonky. So you got to always check the sides and check all of the angles. And number two, I don't know if you noticed, but right after the base coat was exactly where I wanted it, I put it in the light. Like, do not wait. Put it in the light. Freeze it. I do one nail at a time. I cure one nail at a time because we are placing it so perfectly that if we waited and by the time we got to the thumb, we checked on the pinky would be flooded and wonky, and you would spend more time fixing it than you would doing one nail at a time. So check out that side view. Look at that. Oh my god, this is so satisfying. This is the first time I'm watching this through. Damn. Number three, a lot of like floating action. You don't need to press hard. If you press your brush hard on the nail, you're gonna smoosh it and you're gonna make it flat. You're just floating. You just attach your brush to the wet gel and move it exactly where you want it, and the gel will self-level for you. Like the viscosity of my base gels, I mean, are pretty killer, but maybe I'm just biased. But just let it self-level. The gel should do most of the work for you. You just kind of gotta guide it just a little bit. So I'm gonna shut up and let you watch the rest of these. Oh, but just a heads up, to make your self-leveling amazing, what you do is, you can see me do it, I'm doing a really thin layer first and covering the whole nail with the gel, very thin, and while it's wet, that's when I go bloop, shmoop, 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 and the gel self-levels into that first layer of gel. That's where it's at, all right? Okay, now I'm done. right, so she came in with an idea of a dark green with some sort of chromy gold accent. She's feeling like the deep foresty green, but with gold. So I'm going to show you my favorite transfer foil sneaky trick. So we're going to be doing this gold chromy French tip, but not with chrome powder. We're going to use transfer foil. So let me show you the step by step. It's really easy, I promise. Step 1. Once you're done with the color application, you take a matte top coat and mattify it. This is all for our control over the transfer foil because transfer foil loves sticking to everything except for matte. Step 2, take your foil gel and draw it out whatever pattern you want. I did like a little like half French. It almost looks like a whole French, but I kind of did like a little side French, and it helps to have really good lighting because since you're drawing with clear, you want to make sure every point that you want covered is covered. So I took my little detailer brush and painted it out where exactly I wanted the foil to go. And then finally, once the clear is cured, you take your actual foil. I like this one because it's like that true yellowy gold, and you tap it on to that cured clear, and the foil will go exactly where you want it to go. And then once you're done and satisfied, you put top coat on and it makes everything nice and shiny again, and then you're all set.